Check your visas and watch the skies as an Unearthly podcast goes on the hunt for enemy aliens, as narrated by India Fisher with Michael Maloney.
Oh, come on. What? Play. Okay.
Alright, guys, welcome once again to an Unearthly podcast. I am the Man in Black, and with me are Mad Matt Winchell
Hello.
and Ron San McCulloch.
Always a pleasure.
So today our review is Destiny of the Doctors, the 8th entry. However, we're still in the aftermath of the 50th anniversary special, which means that once again we have a whole lot of things to talk about. Which is personally good because I wasn't a huge fan of the story we're reviewing today.
Okay.
We'll get to that later.
So, two of us, I believe, went to the Day of the Doctor in theaters on Monday. Is that correct?
Yes, I think Matt could not.
I don't have money.
Neither do I. Fortunately, I have a very understanding girlfriend.
I'm just impetuous and have no sense of priority.
Well, she was also worried because she had to work on Saturday and didn't know she could see it, so she bought tickets ahead of time, which is good because the theater I went to here in Madison, Point Cinema, started with one showing Monday night at 7:30 in one theater. Almost immediately after starting tickets, had to add a second showing at 10:30, and then had to add a second and then a third theater. So six showings all in all of which were sold out.
Mine only had one showing. However, the manager did have to come in before they started playing everything to make sure everybody was sitting next to each other and not leaving gaps between anybody because it was sold out.
Did you have lines?
I order my tickets on Fandango and just go up to the kiosk.
We ordered ours ahead of time, too. We still had a line. There was a line to get into the theater.
Oh.
A line that stretched the entirety of one wing of the theater, and that was at least where we were. It went on behind us.
Got you.
And eventually got turned into three lines to go into the three theaters.
Just to compare, how large is the cinema you go to? Like, how many auditoriums does it have and such?
I think Point is up to 17 or 18 screens now.
Okay, so it's actually bigger than ours. It probably serves a later area, knowing what little I do about your state anyway.
Point, I think, has 17 screens and the Ultra screen, which is Marcus Cinema's version of the IMAX.
Mm-hmm.
And mind you, this is one theater of, I would say, 3 major theaters in the area.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
4 or 5 if you start including the art house cinemas like Sundance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like ours is an AMC. It's got, I think, 15 theaters, only one of which is an IMAX, which is what pissed me off when Pacific Rim came out, because they didn't show the IMAX until 2 weeks after I watched the movie. I think within about a 30-minute radius, there's probably about 6 or 7 smaller theaters, and then the next AMC is probably around a 30-minute drive mark.
Mm. Well, yeah, your AMC is about the equivalent of the other theater in town, Star. Star Fitchburg has 18 screens, one of which is the IMAX. But Marcus Cinema, which is the direct competitor in this area, has Point, and it has Eastgate Theaters, both of which stand at around 18 screens. But this is just Point, because I believe Point was the only one showing it. But I suspect they might have regretted that. Like I said, they wound up with 6 theaters. There were lines to get in, and as a 5-year conventioneer, I can tell you that it was like one part waiting in line at like Disneyland or Great America or someplace, and one part waiting at a science fiction convention. There were tons of people dressed up like Matt Smith, David Tennant, and I was actually 2 people in line behind someone that was dressed up as Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat himself, Colin Baker.
Nice. Yeah.
It was a accurate recreation of that coat.
Awesome.
I'm lucky enough to share the same dress sense pretty close to David Tennant, so I literally just wore the same thing that he wore for the end of time, minus the extremely expensive tie and the Converse to work that day. And if I had thought about it, I do have that same pair of Converse at home if I just thought to put them in the bag I bring to work, but I didn't.
I actually have that same pair of Converse in storage. His red ones, however, are my default footwear, at least for the time being, until I replace them probably with a pair of black ones. They're getting a bit long in the tooth. I'll have to buy new sets pretty soon. But it was, and okay, this was an amazing showing, not just because of the amount of people there, but the amount of production work they put into it. For those of you that saw Day of the Doctor on Saturday, the theatrical edition had a couple of things before it and a thing after it. The first thing you got was the equivalent of the turn off your cell phones, no recording devices thing, only this was done by Strax.
This was much more elaborate.
And as someone who's not particularly fond of Strax, I have new respect for the character.
This was Strax in his element versus Strax in Victorian London.
This was not Strax the running joke. My favorite, I think, was one of my 2 favorites was the recording device, where Strax basically shows a standard moviegoer strapped into an interrogation chair
for trying to record the movie with their phone
and send it to their home base. Yes. Oh, it's great. But but I think the favorite part is Strax going, however, you humans do have some movie habits that we're fond of. One of which is the capturing and bursting of these little animals called popcorn in their shells.
I think it was the merciless popping of these corn creatures from within. I think
something like that.
There's something along that line, yeah.
And he basically grabs some and take a bite, and you can hear it screaming as he's chewing on it.
You can probably find it on YouTube by now.
Probably, maybe. Probably.
I don't know,
but that was good.
I don't know. They might have been a little intimidated after the recording device.
It might have been. Then there was Matt Smith's introduction of the movie.
Both Smith and Tennant.
Yes, well, it was Smith, and then cut to Tennant, and then they did the whole 3D thing.
Oh, cool! I think.
Cheesy.
No, these were just the BBC and the BBC America stuff. I do not actually see it up the Strax thing. So
maybe they were intimidated.
I'm pretty sure they'll probably put it on the DVD.
Yeah, I bet all this stuff we're talking about is going to be on the DVD.
Yeah, I kind of can't wait.
Probably going to come with 3D glasses as well.
Yep. I don't know. A lot of them assume that you're able to purchase your own 3D glasses.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I almost walked out with the pair that I was given at the theater, but had a last minute attack of conscience.
Yeah.
Mostly it was where would I put them.
So
Anyway,
so so many people throw them in the trash can instead of in the recycling thing that I wouldn't even feel bad because it's still not going in the trash, but I had no use for them.
anyway, the intro with Matt Smith and David Tennant was to introduce the 3D bit, and you already started to see them start sniping at each other.
Right.
As David Tennant pops in, it's like, just remember, in 3D, some things tend to stick out. You know, the chin.
There was also a thing where Matt Smith essentially told you that the people to the left and right of you are Zygons that plan to eat you during the movie, but don't scream
Yes,
because that might disturb the other moviegoers, and there's really nothing they can do to save you.
yes. It was literally put on your 3D glasses. Look left, look right. Now close one eye. If any now look to the people next to you. If they have one lens that's completely black, they are a Zygon. And of course, if you've closed one eye, one of the lenses will be completely black.
Uh,
Yeah, it was great. So then, of course, the movie is 3D. The 3D was more or less okay. It wasn't as impressive as I thought it would be.
I think it was the first time I went to see a 3D movie. Like I paid for a 3D ticket willingly, so therefore the 3D was fairly good. I mean, it didn't give me any headaches. It wasn't at any point like it didn't like the effect didn't come off right and it was blurry or anything like that. And
No,
yeah, at the
no,
same time, I could still, I actually saw in 3 dimensions. There was one point, I think this was on Gallifrey. They had people walking in from off screen, and I actually thought that somebody was walking past me toward the screen until I realized it's part of the movie. That's part of the 3D. Like
nice,
I thought my feet were in somebody's way for a second until I realized it was a Gallifreyan.
nice. I didn't have that issue. I found it to be a little understated. I thought the 3D pictures would have been really, really nice in 3D, and they really weren't
oh
that
yeah, they
impressive.
didn't really do anything particular with that.
Yeah, and you kind of thought they would have.
hmm. Oh well.
And then, of course, we get to the ending, which is the making of the 50th anniversary, which
Which prompted me to walk out of the movie and get straight on Skype to tell these guys that Colin Baker is a huge troll.
Yeah, I was trying to ask earlier. So apparently, Colin Baker's a gigantic troll, and was just trying to get people invested in the movie.
yeah,
Then.
you go through, you're narrating, and I knew it was him from the moment I heard his voice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He has
And he
that
goes
voice.
through this, and then he turns it, and then there's me narrating, and he turns and he gives the screen the biggest troll face ever. Then I see him. I also watched found a recording of the after party, and saw him coming out. And I'm just like, no, I think he's just a troll in general. He's basically turned into a colossal troll because he has that expression on his face now, like constantly. All in all, though, I think this was far worth the money, and apparently so did a lot of other people too. Because in the end, this one night in the U.S. alone grossed $4.8 million.
That was U.S. alone numbers.
Yes, that's only the U.S.
I
box office.
really should have read the sentences a little bit more rather than just looking at the numbers.
The event averaged over $7,000 per location, with 320,000 tickets sold.
And then it was another $204,000 U.S. for Saturday, 2.9 million worldwide, or no, 2.9 million UK for just Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
So, U.S., let's not deal with the U.K. numbers. Alone, $5 million U.S. between Saturday and Monday.
And that's for something that was shown on television 3 or 4 times during that
Well,
span as well.
well, the 204,000, it was being shown live for the first time ever.
But then it was also shown a few hours later and a few hours after that and probably
and
a few
then
hours after that.
and then it proceeded to gross 4.8 million 2 days later.
Yeah.
And still, this is also a limited run show. I mean, normally when a
Right.
movie is released, every theater in the country has a chance to buy it. This only was at select theaters that have this license with the company that was doing it.
Yeah, and this, as a Fathom event, it literally, instead of showing all day like most movies will, it literally showed a grand total of 3 times maximum per theater, most of them less than that. And that's once on Saturday and twice on Monday at very specific times.
Well, mine got a little more because they had to keep adding more showings.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was multiple showings, but still at the same time that Fathom.
Oh, it was still at the same time. Yeah,
that's what I mean.
Theater.
Yeah. Versus most movies, when you look at their box office, they might have showed it at noon, and then again at 2:30, and then again at 5, and then again at 7 or something like that.
It's
you didn't get that here.
Yeah, it's only an evening showing. You don't get an all day. But really, that goes to show you what would happen if the BBC actually considered to do a theatrical movie.
Yeah, they actually threw the money, time, and budget to actually make a full-fledged movie for Doctor Who. In one day, they almost outdid a movie which I think was already there for at least a couple of days longer than this. And still managed to come up only second to it.
The only thing that beat it was the new Hunger Games movie.
Which tells me that if they had actually added another day or two, they probably could have caught up to Catching Fire. And maybe even outdid it.
I don't know. I think those totals was just the Hunger Games one-day total.
I don't know. They don't really specify in the article.
Yeah.
I suspect so. Let's see. When was that released?
I believe the Hunger Games was released the Thursday or Friday before this. They usually release movies on Thursdays and Fridays, so that they have all weekend to play.
Yeah, it's usually Thursday night at midnight, making it a Friday release.
Mm-hmm.
It was November 22nd. Some theaters probably had a Thursday night.
So it had been out since Thursday night, Friday. So it was new that weekend. And it's already, by the way, boxed office 500 million.
Which means that if they had released it a couple of weeks earlier, Doctor Who probably would have been #1 on the box office for that weekend.
Depending if something else had been released in its place. Remember the fact that the movie's kind of remember the fact that movies released they tend to try to schedule around each other.
True.
So you don't have two blockbusters going head to head.
Right. What I mean, like, I try to follow most of the sci-fi and horror releases, and just off the ones that I plan to see, I usually manage to get a maximum of 2 per month. And while granted, Hunger Games wasn't one of the films that I had planned to see, that says that there would have been a fairly decent chance of having 2 weeks without a release. Although, then again, I think November had quite a few sci-fi releases anyway. They had Thor, and everything. So
that is during its opening weekend, The Hunger Games: Catching Fire grossed $158.1 million.
So these are same day numbers.
So those are definitely must be same day numbers then.
But imagine Doctor Who with a unlimited release like that.
It could start challenging it, and especially if it actually had an entire weekend to do this.
Mm-hmm.
there would have been a lot more people to show up.
Of course,
And the
then
fact that if
the people watching it would start being a lot more picky with expecting everything to be, the standards of the average multi $100 million flick. But
well, if you threw that much money at it,
which, yeah, the BBC is not throwing that much money at it.
They
the
still
only
threw
way
more
I
money
could,
at it than they usually do for a season.
the only way I could ever see the BBC doing this is if the BBC got somebody to co-produce it,
Yeah, actually,
a
I was just
major
thinking about that.
studio.
In the 60s, what they did was they sold someone the rights. I
Uh-huh.
could see now they wouldn't necessarily sell them the rights completely, but they would, come up with some sort of agreement, that maybe the studio funding it would, one studio would fund it, the BBC would advertise for it, and supply the doctor actor and such.
Mm-hmm. Hell, I wouldn't mind it if they did a series of movies starring Paul McGann.
Yeah.
Which actually does take us to another news article. It was scheduled for later, but this makes a good segue.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there have been rumors of fans demanding a actual series of Paul McGann episodes following the Night of the Doctor minisode. In fact, there's actually an online petition for it. Said petition, however, is at change.org, so don't expect anything to come of this. In fact, Stephen Moffat has pretty much said that that's not on the table. What do you guys think?
I would love to see it, and maybe, just maybe, crossing fingers, seeing how many people want to see it, might convince Moffat or someone higher up to maybe do something on the side with Paul. But at the same time, I'm not counting on it ever really happening.
I think it would be. I think it would be something if we saw something like Dream World or what was that other special? Like one of those online specials or something like that animated Torchwood that was online. What was it? Web of Lies, was it?
Mm-hmm.
If we, I think something like that could come of it, but I wouldn't really expect a full-on season. How are we going to have a full 8th Doctor season and a full 12th Doctor season going head-to-head without diminishing each other?
Yeah.
That wouldn't really work.
Technically, the 8th Doctor would be a quasi-spin-off in a way.
Yeah. It would probably be considered a spin-off and would be put on at a different time.
Mm-hmm. But since when has an internet petition actually changed anything?
Depends.
And Moffat has stated that he doesn't like the idea of having multiple standing doctors
Since this is somewhat related, the biggest thing I've ever heard an internet petition change is that apparently in damn it, I'm always terrible at countries, but I think this was Denmark. They weren't going to have any theatrical releases for Day of the Doctor, and they petitioned and managed to get a theater or two to air it on during the simulcast.
Mm. Well, I suspect if Point Cinema had known how popular that Monday show would have been, they would have gotten in on the simulcast.
Yeah.
But I don't see Moffat changing. Like I said, he doesn't like the idea of having multiple doctors standing at the same time. Other than, the flashback specials, like Day of the Doctor.
But at the same time, we have to remember that this is actually Moffat talking. Moffat is a lying bastard.
He's a magnificent bastard,
Sure,
though, if you've watched
But he's also a lying bastard, and he's admitted it.
And in the same article, he also says that what was special about Night of the Doctor wasn't the fact that there was Paul McGann, although it was great that he was there. It was the fact that for the first time in quite some time, Doctor Who actually managed to pull out a surprise without any of the fans knowing what was going to come on screen.
I think he says that if anything comes out of it, what will be is more minisodes. But
that's what I was saying too.
full budgeted minisodes. Not just, I mean, they put some production budget into Night of the Doctor, so they're kind of hoping that the BBC will let them do that again. So really, I think that's about the best you could hope for on that. Okay, moving along.
Actually, looking back at that article, I'm actually realizing a bit more clarity on Colin's statements earlier. Apparently, he's somewhat annoyed that Tom got to be in the actual special, but that the other classic survivors did not.
Yeah.
So even though they're definitely part of the celebration with the five-ish doctors and the making of, the fact that Tom got to be an actual part of the special and they didn't, they felt kind of diminished their status as doctors.
Well, also, admittedly, they all have more work going on for them than Tom does lately.
Colin doesn't, really.
Yeah, I think, the only thing I can think of Colin doing is the same thing that Tom is doing, which is Big Finish.
Yeah, Colin and Peter do that. Sylvester at least has, Lord of the Rings on the side. A fact that they make fun of in the Five-ish Doctors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
By the way, I've been the Hobbit. Oh, are you really?
No, the quote they got Ian McKellen to do in that is just great.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Actually, I think we'd be much better without him. Oh, and the fact that they got Ian McKellen and God, his name, director,
Peter Jackson.
God, why does my brain keep not functioning on names? But yeah, the fact that they got both Ian McKellen and Peter Jackson to actually appear in that.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Well, Ian McKellen has been attached to Doctor Who for since last Christmas with the Snowmen.
Technically,
right.
Yes.
And I suspect Peter Jackson may not be the biggest, but is probably at least a decent Doctor Who fan.
He's British too, isn't he?
I believe Peter Jackson was at least raised British.
No, he's New Zealand.
Ah.
But he is a geek, so I wouldn't see him not liking it, really.
Well, also, here's the thing, Randy. Have you seen Peter Jackson's collection of Doctor Who?
No.
He has an entire 7th Doctor outfit, and he has 2 Daleks.
Then it's confirmed. He is a Doctor Who fan.
Yeah.
So therefore, when Syl probably asked him to do this, he's just like, awesome, yes.
Please,
yeah,
please, yes.
I could just imagine he's sitting on set talking on his phone with Moffat, and they're like, who are you talking to? Oh, I'm just talking to Stephen Moffat about something for the 50th anniversary. What?
Moffat
get us in on that.
Stephen Moffat had absolutely nothing to do with the Five-ish Doctors.
Except for the bits that he was in.
Yeah, it was the brainchild of Peter Davidson and his daughter, a.k.a. Georgia Moffat, a.k.a.
Peter probably
Georgia Tennant.
Peter probably does have all their cell numbers after Dimensions and everything else since then, and Big Finish and all that.
Well, like I said, Peter Davidson probably asked Sylvester McCoy to mention it to him, and he was over the moon on it.
Probably. But yeah, Peter Jackson's officially a Doctor Who fan, and he really loved the 7th Doctor, which is why he really wanted Sylvester McCoy in the Lord of the Rings movies. But he was originally going to be Bilbo Baggins. Did you know that? Mm-hmm.
Yep. Or he was one of the top 2 considerations, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
He was the number 1 consideration by Jackson. Yeah. Jackson really wanted him, but I believe Sylvester was actually busy with something at the time, so they couldn't get him. But that's fine. That just means we get more Radagast.
I wonder what to...
So...
But anyway, as I was about to say, I hadn't gotten a chance to see it until after our last podcast, but I finally got a chance to see Adventures in Space and Time.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you and I both watched it that night or close to it.
It wasn't a couple. It was a couple of days later until I saw it.
Oh, okay. So I probably saw it before you then. I remember you were talking about going off to find a copy when we closed up the podcast.
Yes, I finally did find a copy and watched it, and it was good. Oh, what's his face that played William Hartnell? I can never remember his name.
No, I can't either. Filch.
I know the actor. The Argus Filch is the
No,
character.
I was just gonna say. I was just gonna say call him Filch.
David Bradley.
There we go. I knew Brad had something to do with it, but I couldn't remember if it was his first or last name or what.
He did a remarkable job of playing William Hartnell. There are some scenes where he's reciting some of the more epic lines that I can tell his cadence is off. He doesn't quite have the right meter, the right level of where to pause, where the voice is high, etc.
Yeah, he probably hasn't watched the Five Doctors as often as we have.
The Five Doctors, that episode, a dozen specials, etc. Yeah, but other than that, I could perfectly believe I was watching Hartnell the rest of the time.
Yeah.
The actress they got to portray Carol Ann Ford is astoundingly look-alike.
Very much.
I wonder if they brought Carol Ann Ford on to coach her acting.
Quite possibly, although
considering she is still doing Doctor Who productions.
Oh, here's some more comparison pictures.
Apparently, the actress that did her was called Claudia Grant, not to be confused with the Claudia Grant from Farscape. Anyway,
of course, the fact that they have her and that she did a good job is probably just more fuel for the fire for the people that wish that Susan had been the moment instead of Rose. Because they now actually have an actress who could have pulled it off.
Carol Ann Ford was actually in Adventures in Time and Space, by the way.
Oh.
Yeah, she played a character named Joyce. It was a cameo bit part. There were several people that were in there that were former Doctor Who alumni that you probably didn't recognize. William Russell was in there, who played Ian Chesterton in the original as a character by the name of Harry.
Nice.
By the way, I have a picture up on the stream that's showing some lookalikes between the pictures between the actors and the original people they portrayed in this special. And oh my word.
Yes. Those four in particular, they did really good jobs finding people for, and they looked just like them in the show. A lot of the secondary, like only one scene people, didn't do very well.
Right. There was one person that only did one scene that they could have done a bit more work on, but he was fairly passable that Randy and I were discussing. Do we want to spoil that?
It's not really that big of a spoiler, considering it's on the history of this, and it's already been out for more than a week anyway.
And now, that's him on the screen, it looks like? Except the hair's been there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're a little bit behind on me. I tried... Oh, there we go.
Okay. No, you were the next one. Matt, the one that you were just on a second ago.
What, this?
Yes. That's who we were going to talk about, was Reese Shearsmith is his name, who was cast as playing Patrick Troughton in, like, the goodbye scene for William Hartnell. And I swear he looked more like a cosplayer than he did Patrick Troughton.
Although in this picture, he looks a lot like Patrick Troughton. Yeah,
but the hair color was wrong, and and the wig that they had was really ill-fitting.
Yeah.
It was kind of a disappointment.
Yeah, they didn't quite hammer it as well as they did a lot of the others.
He got the meter and cadence of Patrick Troughton good. But they could have done a little. The makeup people could have done a little more.
Yeah. Yeah, that's about the only one that I can actually honestly think of that I kind of took my head and went, at.
The guy that they got to play Ian Chesterton, aka Russell or William Russell, also was a little off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he wasn't quite
The
pegged on either.
yeah, the actors that played William Russell and I'm blanking on Barbara's actress's name. They didn't really have.
Jacqueline Hill.
There we go. They didn't really have a ton to do in this special anyway.
Although I
Yeah.
would say that the one that played Barbara was almost a dead-on looker too.
No, that's who we're talking about. Jacqueline Hill. She didn't. She was okay, but not too much. The Jamie Glover, however, really didn't look that much like William Russell.
No.
And Maureen O'Brien only kind of sort of looked like Vicky. The one that they got to play Dodo, I think, was closer to the.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, we really only saw most of those in moments.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I got to see him for a very short period of time anyway.
Also of note in here was the fact that Nicholas Briggs played Peter Hawkins, who was the original voice of the Daleks and Cybermen. So yes, there is a precedent for all the aliens being voiced by the same people, Matt.
Except that I know of a few aliens that still are voiced by their own actors. As
Yes,
I
but
pointed out before.
all we need is to get Nicholas Briggs saying "excellent," and he'll pretty much be able to take over the spectrum.
If we ever get Nick Briggs for a convention, I will get a recording of him saying that and using a cyber voice. Interesting. Peter Hawkins died on the same day that Doctor Who aired Doomsday.
Ooh.
The first to feature Daleks and Cybermen confronting each other. So the two characters he was voiced for. He was, by the way, the Peter Hawkins was the voice of the Daleks Cybermen before Roy Skelton, who became known as the Daleks voice for a good chunk of the series.
The send off. There was one complaint that I had about the special that particularly annoyed me. It might not have annoyed other people as much, but there's a scene where Sidney Newman is reading the script to the Daleks, and he reads off a line that would eventually become very iconic and something Daleks would be known for, but it did not appear in that episode, and I found that particularly annoying.
It's also possible that it was originally written into the episode and got cut.
That's always possible too, yes.
That would be interesting.
Because it's possible, because remember the fact that 90% of the Dalek episodes, actually all of the Dalek episodes from Dalek to Destiny of the Daleks were all written by Terry Nation. Every single one of them.
I thought that some were written by, what's his name? I thought Evil in particular I thought was written by somebody else.
I don't believe so.
No, I'm pretty sure Terry Nation had his hand very strong in all
Because
of that.
I thought that was why we didn't see the Emperor again, because Terry Nation did not like that script.
Not that I'm aware of.
I'm pulling it up on the data core right now.
Maybe that's what solidified him and going, you know what? No, I'm
David-
going to be the sole
that's the
person.
name I was
Yep,
trying to
David
think.
Whittaker wrote it. Okay.
And Nation was not a fan of Whitaker's take on Daleks.
Which is probably why Nation went ahead and went, you know, I'm just going to be the sole writer from now on for the Daleks. It's probably what forced his hand on that.
I think then that is the only one.
Yeah,
And
it was.
Terry didn't like that
Let me
after
just check
that.
on Power. I know it was either Power and Evil or just Evil, but I'm not sure which.
Nope, David Whittaker did Power too, so it was that
Okay,
season.
so the two Trout and Dalek stories were written by David Whittaker then.
Mm-hmm. But everything from the first Doctor, the Daleks, Dalek Invasion of Earth, the Chase, Dalek's Master Plan
Right.
um, was all, and then Day of the Daleks, Planet of the Daleks, and Death to the Daleks were all, um, actually, I take it back. Day of the Daleks was Louis Marks.
Oh, I think we just punched.
Terry Nation, however, came back with Planet and Death and Genesis and Destiny.
So he came back for the really good ones.
Well, I remember them talking about the
Did
fact
you
that
describe
the
Destiny
original.
as one of the really good ones?
Hmm?
Did you just describe Destiny as one of the really good ones?
Destiny of the Daleks? Yeah. What's wrong with it?
I was under the impression it was usually not considered to be a good one.
It isn't, but a lot of that is production value.
Yeah, I wouldn't
I
exactly
agree.
put it on the story.
It has its flaws. I wouldn't put it in the top Dalek stories, but I wouldn't say it's like the worst Doctor Who story ever either.
But anyway, so yes,
It's definitely the bottom of the Davros stories, in my opinion.
anyway, yeah, other than those 3 stories that were mentioned, he wrote all of them from there. And those probably coincide with the time that he was in America, trying to sell the Americans on a Dalek series.
Not realizing that the Americans looked at him and went, "What the hell's a Dalek?"
Now, he was trying to bank on the series. The problem was he wanted to do it away from where Doctor Who was known, because he thought the Daleks were strong enough to stand on their own.
And not really, no.
Oh, it could have worked, but
It could work, but the thing is that you need to actually know what the heck they are first before anyone would trust it.
Mm-hmm.
A crazy idea like that.
I'm kind of
So,
curious what his
yeah.
pilot was, unless his pilot was Mission to the Unknown.
I have no idea. Anyway, yeah, the fact is that Terry Nation wrote. How did we get on the topic of Terry Nation?
We were talking about. I'm not even sure why we got on the topic of Terry Nation, to be honest. Oh, we were talking about exterminate, exterminate.
Yeah, so he probably did write that line when it became used in like the Chase, I think.
It was either first written into the Chase or into the movie, which aired the same year,
I don't
or
think
was
it was.
made the same year. It was.
I
It
don't
was.
think
I
it-
know they were filmed at the same time. I know that, or close to it.
Yeah, I think it would have actually came from the show first and not the movie. Because the movies tended to be direct representations of the original story played in the show, only that they got a chance to do it in color.
Well, I remember that it had not appeared as a line in the original serials, but when you watched the movie, you mentioned that it did appear as a line.
Probably at that point, though, that was stuff that got added to the Dalek from the Dalek Invasion of Earth, which I think was airing about the same time the movie had been made.
Yeah, I know. What I remember is that they aired Dalek Invasion of Earth. They filmed the movie. Then they gave the Daleks from the movie to BBC, and they used those Daleks for the Chase. I remember that much. And then they aired the Chase before the movie came out, or that's the general order anyway. It might be a little
Yeah,
out of
Chase
order.
came out, I believe, about a week before the movie did, so they actually got a sneak peek at the movie dogs before the movie actually came out.
Regardless, however, what I'm referring to is the fact that means that the writers of the movies were able to pull lines from later Dalek serials. And it is, like I said, it is possible that in very earlier scripts that Terry Nation later revised and cut scenes and lines from, the Daleks did use those quotes. and then just removed them. And then when Terry Nation went to write a new story, he just grabbed some of those lines.
Yeah, it could have been very well that they actually asked him to tone it down a little bit or something, just in
So-
case it didn't work out well.
I remember reading a featurette at some point that the line had been added in the show after it became popular from people chanting it, even though it hadn't actually been aired as a line yet.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that it hadn't been in drafts.
Right.
And the fact that that it wasn't aired like that. They did use exterminated a lot.
Right. Yeah. They used exterminated. They use
Exterminate the something, but only in. They basically, whenever the Daleks needed to say the word kill, they would use exterminate in the sentence instead of kill.
I think in a couple of the early ones they actually said terminate, but not like it was about equal or lesser frequency than exterminate until eventually they got rid of terminate altogether.
Mm-hmm. But regardless, that got picked up on and became kind of their catchphrase. And yes, at that point, it got added in ad nauseum in the scripting. I still think that in the original they do mention exterminating the Thalls.
Yes, they did. I'm pretty sure they did.
Mm-hmm. But they didn't, run after the Thalls screaming exterminate like they would do in later serials.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it took them about 2 serials before exterminate became their chant.
Became, their verb of choice. Anyway, I can still see him reading it and finding it perfectly plausible. However, you also have to remember in mind that this was also written by Mark Gatiss.
Yep.
So it would also behoove him to have a continuity snafu like that, because he can't maintain it within his own writing when he's writing an actual episode.
Wah, wah, wah.
I'm sorry, there are several episodes Gatiss has written that I have not forgiven him for yet. However, Adventures in Space and Time, in my opinion, is gaining him some ground.
I like this picture. Just a hallway full of classic Daleks. They must be getting ready for the outdoor shots.
I'm sorry, he's responsible for Victory of the Daleks. Therefore, he is responsible directly for the Sentai Daleks.
Which I still have no real problem with. I understand your problems with them, but I don't have problems with them.
He's responsible for using the screwdriver as a wand to heal toxins from the Doctor's system, regardless of... actually, it's arguable whether that's the direction or the script, but it's... I can't imagine there was that much wiggle room in the script. It would...
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I still think that there is a side explanation for that one.
That's what I'm saying. It's either the direction or the script, yeah.
Because I think it was he used the screwdriver to activate the device which purged the toxins from his system. But that's the Crimson Horror, and I hate that episode for other writing reasons.
Yeah,
or editing reasons.
That one made sense to me.
I think it's just you again, Bill.
Yeah.
But
there's other reasons to hate that episode. The fact
that the villain is never really given a motive.
Yeah, not
other
a really
than
good solid motive at all.
And that's in writing. So that's one of the things I find Gatiss at fault with.
And there's a huge opportunity to actually include the what is it called again? The collective consciousness or whatever.
Oh, that's right.
The Great Intelligence. The Great Intelligence. There's a huge chance to add in the Great Intelligence, but they completely missed it.
Mark Gatiss is responsible for Thomas.
Oh,
God, yes.
Okay, yeah. This man needs to be set on fire.
Yeah, he was also responsible for Cold War, which, like I said, he half-assed. He got the Ice Warrior right. He did not really get what he was aiming for, which was to put it in the midst of a Cold War Tom Clancy-esque thriller.
which I don't really know much about those, so it was perfectly fine by me.
I do know those. The Hunt for Red October is one of my favorite movies outside of science fiction. So,
I watch normal action movies, quote unquote normal action movies, every once in a while.
but still, it was the fact that they were trying for that Hunt for Red October feel, and it just fell flat. He was also responsible for Night Terrors. Do you remember that one?
Night Terrors.
That's the
Sounds
one with the
familiar.
dollhouse.
Yes.
Blink, blink.
It was from that season, which you swear doesn't exist.
Ah, that. Okay, never mind. La 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 la.
He's, like I said, he's responsible for Victory of the Daleks, and he's responsible for the Idiot's Lantern, which, while I don't overly hate, was not what I would consider to be one of the hallmarks of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Right. Oh,
And
an interesting reading of
he's
that
also-
episode is that,
he also wrote The Unquiet Dead, by the way, which I believe
Yeah.
you said was one of the first few episodes you weren't fond of.
it was you mentioned that. I'm trying to remember where exactly that came from.
I thought it was a discussion with you in the early days.
Right, and I'm thinking it was one of the episodes that I considered more able to be ignored or dropped versus other ones that are essential for moving the season forward. But I'm not 100% certain.
By the way, now that you've gotten more classic Who under your belt, Bill, I would go back and rewatch that episode.
I rewatched. I think I've rewatched that whole season earlier this year. I've watched a lot of stuff this year. I can't quite remember.
Because watching that, I can tell you this, that the first two episodes we saw, Rose and End of the World, both had that new Who feel. Watching The Unquiet Dead was like taking a step back to classic Who for those of us veterans, so it was like,
I can see that.
it was kind of like going home. It was kind of reminding us that that is what Doctor Who was about. So that holds kind of a very special place in my heart. So I like that episode, but I haven't really liked anything he's done. They've been mediocre at best and abysmal at worst.
One interesting reading I've seen of The Idiot's Lantern was that it was mentioned that it was most likely written when they still thought Christopher Eccleston was going to be able to act it out, which is why some of the mannerisms and some of the scripting makes more sense for the Ninth Doctor than for the 10th. So that's just something to think about next time you watch it and see if you like it any better.
Maybe just a little bit, but not all of it.
Yeah, there
Still,
are some...
I do think Moffat did The Idiot's Lantern better in season 7.
With the Bells of St. John?
Yes.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wonder if he actually turned to Mark Gaddis and said, see, this is how you do it. Let me take you to school
Nah,
here.
because Moffat considers Gaddis to be one of the best writers on his team, or at least possibly the best.
That's
Like,
because Gaddis works as Moffat's toady.
yeah, like if there's something he wants to write but he doesn't have time for it, he'll give it to Gaddis.
He's Igor to Moffat's Frankenstein.
We need a new Frankenstein then. This one's kind of falling apart.
Hey, he just gave us Day of the Doctor, so shut up.
That's a special. He can do specials just fine. He can't do a regular season.
Yeah,
though.
this kind of proves that he can write, but we need somebody who can edit.
We need somebody who can... Yeah, he's not the greatest editor. I will still admit that. However, I want to see in mind what he has for this upcoming season.
Like this, I probably expect Christmas will be another really good one, but then the season will probably get a strong start, and then it'll flounder.
Moffat's been hit or miss on specials. I mean, this is the same man that gave us A Christmas Carol, It gave us the Snowmen, and gave us, what was it? The Doctor, the whole Narnia take. You don't remember the Christmas special between those two? Oh, that's right. That was the season you weren't paying attention to.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't exist. La 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 la.
And to be honest, of those, I think I actually like that Series 6 Christmas special the best. But that's not saying much.
Series 6 Christmas special, that's the one where he went and screwed with the guy's past until he agreed with him?
Yeah, actually, it looks like it was Series 7 special.
Yeah.
The Series
It
7
was Series
special
7.
was the Snowman.
No, it started with the Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe.
Oh, okay, I got what you... Okay.
It's
yeah,
considered.
that's the problem
considered
with split seasons.
Yeah, it's considered Series
actually,
7.
I think I remember
episode
that now.
0.
I think I remember seeing the title for that and going, ugh, and walking away.
But there wasn't...
Yeah, I have a lot...
Like,
I have a lot of issues with A Christmas Carol that annoys the crap out of me. Mostly the retroactive changing of time that he's doing is kind of against what the Doctor normally does.
and doesn't he, like, put everything up on display so the guy can watch him fuck with his own past?
Yes, it's kind of trolling him in a way.
It's like doing brain surgery on somebody while they watch a video of what is being done to it.
Yeah. It's kind of fundamental to the episode. That's kind of my problem with that one. We never got a chance to review that one. So now we know my opinions of that, and if we ever actually do a full review of that episode, we'll do that. Eventually, we will get around to reviewing Series 6, Matt, and then you'll be forced to watch it. And the Snowmen had some really bad CGI.
Yeah, the plot was so-so, but the CGI just crumbled into dust.
Yeah,
it didn't really bother me, honestly. I don't know, maybe I'm just...
It's obviously the special effects budget on that one was set on the new TARDIS set, which, again, I'll give you points for, because I love that set.
That is really nice.
I should also mention, I've noticed that I tend to sometimes be a bit more permissive with bad CGI than a lot of people are. I guess it's just me on that, but I didn't really mind the snowmen in terms of the visuals.
The snowmen themselves were fine. It's the ice bitch.
I didn't even really mind that.
Actually,
there are moments when it's cringeworthy, but
it was terrible. I've seen people that do freaking online reviews that do better animation than that.
Anyway, yeah, it's one of the signs that the budget's gone down, and yeah, the episode itself has its flaws. I think I had some arguments with how the Doctor was being portrayed in there that really ate at me wrong.
Speaking of the budget, we never really mentioned the 12D with, what was it, 57 Doctors that's coming 50 years from now?
Yeah, that was part of the Matt Smith intro, is the fact that he thought he was here for the 100th anniversary in 12D. And had to be corrected. Yeah, we forgot to mention that.
I think I've actually heard a little bit about that, yeah.
It's interesting that we've gone through 12 Doctors in 50 years, and we expect to go through another 40-some-odd in another 50.
Anyway, we've got horribly, horribly off track here.
Completely and totally.
So, let's move on, and let's take a look towards the future, towards the Christmas special, 2013. The name has been released.
The Doctor.
I was just about to say that. And there are a lot of rumors floating around based off of interviews by Stephen Moffat, the most tangible of which is the fact that Matt Smith is not the 11th Doctor. He's not even the 12th Doctor, retconning in John Hurt. He is actually the 13th Doctor, because you also have to retconning in Tennant doing the regeneration in Journey's End and then moving it into a hand.
to clarify that, he's not so much on terms of the doctors, because he's been very against that, but in terms of looking at him in terms of strictly how many times he's regenerated versus how many times he's allowed, he's the 13th incarnation in that result.
Which makes him the final Doctor. Yes. Which means that part of the time of the Doctor is going to be the fact that now he's dying. Also, do remember he shaved off 10 years of his life to get the TARDIS out of Pete's universe.
Which is interesting when you consider that he's had this form for several hundred years, and anyone remember the last time we saw an aging Time Lord on his last regeneration who had gone on for quite some time?
You mean old Skeletor?
Yeah. That would be an interesting way to see the Doctor for a season. Too bad, actually, that would have been really awesome, actually, now that I think about it. I'm just trying to picture season 7 if Matt Smith had looked like that.
You know, wouldn't it be funny that if in the special he starts, they have to keep adding age lines to him and stuff? Because he just starts, like, rapid aging?
Interesting theories.
I don't think they're going to, but
no, they're probably not. It would have been interesting to do, though. Also, of course, the fact is that they released some promo posters for it.
As seen on the stream right now.
Yeah, I've seen. Are you referring to just the fact that one is widescreen and one is main screen, or are you saying that there's a second poster also?
No, those are the two posters, the widescreen and the main screen. The difference in them is that there's faces hidden in both of them.
Right.
And it's very weird what faces are hidden. What are hidden in them. One, not so much. Peter Capaldi is hidden in, I believe, the full screen version.
I think that's by Clara's elbow there.
Yeah, if you could, zoom in a little farther down, zoom in a little more, if you can. What are you using to view that, Matt?
This is on my web browser.
Okay, yeah, so you can, Control Plus to move in. And yes, you can then see it. Nope, that one is actually Paul McGann, which we're wondering why he's in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, by Clara's other elbow, I think is the other face.
Really? I didn't think it was in this picture.
So
I might be wrong. I was just thinking that would be the place where it would make most sense for it to be.
You can check the other elbow.
No, I don't see any face there.
No.
Okay.
So back out to the other picture.
I'm trying to find another picture.
The not the widescreen or the
they have the same pose, but it's a different composition of the shot.
Yes, it's the same picture. Yeah, move back up. Back up, Matt. Okay, which one were you looking at? You were looking at the third one? Go to the second. The second one? Go to the third one. Go to the portrait one.
Okay.
Yeah, one's portrait, one's landscape.
Hmm.
So if that's the picture you were in, yeah, okay. Now zoom in. Zoom in. Underneath the cyber head. Can you zoom in anymore?
You gotta remember that you got a lag compared to what I'm actually seeing right now.
But he has much less of a lag than I do, because he's responding to things I haven't seen yet.
Okay, yeah, I can just barely make it out.
Yep. And that's Peter Capaldi. He's surprising. Why is Paul McGann in this picture?
Because fans have been squeeing ever since McGann showed up in Night of the Doctor.
Now you're speculating. I was actually posting that question to our listeners.
True.
That is the big question on why is Paul McGann in there. Does he show up in the Christmas special? We don't know. Is he part of the solution? If so, Moffat, of course, is being tight-lipped, as he always is.
Mm-hmm. He's being extremely tight-lipped now because he realized it worked.
Yeah, joy. Means we're not going to get any answers to anything.
Mm-hmm.
Why is Clara wearing a crown?
Paper crowns are a thing in Britain for New Year's, I guess. Or
Ah,
Christmas.
so everyone becomes the Burger King?
It's one of those things that they pull out of Christmas snaps.
I remember
Please tell me.
I remember them doing it when David Tennant's first Christmas special.
Yeah, they got these firecracker things that they pop open, and there's a little toy or something inside, and the paper crowns are in some of them.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the Cyberman head was in the other one.
The Cyberman head is in both of them, Bill.
No, I'm talking about the Christmas popper thing. Where she got the crown from.
What? Now you're making no sense to me, Bill. What?
We were just talking about where the crown came from.
Yeah.
He said they came from the Christmas poppers. I said I guess the Cyberman head was in the other one. That's why she has the crown, he has the Cyberman head.
You kind of mumbled it, so I didn't quite catch all that. But okay, I see what you're trying to go at.
Okay. And then I was also sent a further image, which is kind of Series 8-ish. I'm going to actually post this in the chat, and Matt can bring it up.
Okie dokie.
I have no idea if this is official or not. It was, like I said, sent to me by a friend.
Oh yes, I think I have seen that. I think on some of the announcements. I think that might be.
Oh
the
yeah,
poster.
I actually shared it on Facebook actually.
Okay. And as you can see, it does seem to confirm that Series 8 is going to be the Hunt for Gallifrey.
Mm-hmm.
And
So
that's
that's
Peter, okay. That's Peter Capaldi, there, isn't it?
Yeah, who did you think it was?
I was confused because for a second, like the head made me think Tennant, but I knew it wasn't Tennant. So I was like, "That's not. It doesn't look like Matt Smith," and I was just confused for a minute because I've never seen the back of Capaldi's head, at least not knowingly.
If these are proper promotional images, then that also is probably our first hint of what Peter Capaldi's outfit's going to look like.
Mm-hmm. A bluish suit.
He does look a little Tennant-y there, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Only the jacket's nowhere near as long.
No, well, mind you, he had a regular suit, and then he'd tear the trench over it, Matt.
True. But the other pictures also show the Doctor in his full get-up, too.
I think that Screwdriver looks a little more hurt than Smith, too. It's hard to tell, obviously, but that's just the impression I get.
It might be. It looks like it's definitely going to be a redesign on the Screwdriver, that's for certain.
Speaking of which, the John Hurt Screwdriver is now for sale. My comment on it was that it is not compatible with the build-your-own screwdriver kit, and therefore 0 stars.
Thank you. You've also added my question on how long that would be before. What was it on ThinkGeek?
Somebody linked to it. Like, I saw a link to a link to a link to it, but the link I saw did not end up on ThinkGeek. It might also be there as well, though. You know, those tend to be on multiple sites.
Yeah, a statement I made to Aaron when I was coming out of the launch party was, so how long do you think before John Hurt Screwdriver appears on ThinkGeek?
And the comment that the Mary Sue made about it was that on the tip, where it's probably the activating button, looks like it's wearing a fez.
Wah, wah, wah.
Let's see.
Slightly.
ThinkGeek, Sonic Screwdriver toothbrush.
Merchandise guide, the Doctor Who site, www.thedoctorwho.co.uk.
Doesn't matter, I'm just checking to see if it's on ThinkGeek, because that answers my question on how long it'll be before it's on ThinkGeek. The answer is not yet.
So it's going to be a while yet. But I have a picture up on the stream now. Or should
I don't
have
think
it.
I don't think ThinkGeek even has the temporal screwdriver,
I've seen it on there.
unless they added it. Because when you and I were discussing it, it wasn't on there. Only the build your own was.
It's been on there before though, so it's just probably out at the moment.
Oh, okay,
Because I've looked them both up on ThinkGeek before.
gotcha.
The TARDIS tea infuser. I might have to get that. Anyway, I think that has covered the news. See
I think
what
it
we
has.
Don't mind the smile
Yes.
screwdriver, by the way.
All right. We now move on to our feature presentation. Enemy aliens. Who wants to do the plot?
I think it's Bill's turn, isn't it?
All right, the Doctor and Charlie have just completed an adventure of some sort that resulted in them running around all weekend, and Charlie wearing a Russian cavalryman's uniform. They get back to the TARDIS, and as Charlie sits down to relax, the Doctor is noticeably very upset about something on the console. He eventually explains that this is from the TARDIS internal communication system, which means that only one various colorful adjectives person could possibly be responsible for it, at which point he eventually says, by which I mean me. He plays the message, which is from him, in this case being the 11th Doctor reaching out to the 8th Doctor. He describes the fact that he is in a spot of trouble, but when he goes to describe what it was, the message is garbled by interference. Finally, what they do here is that William Tell is the key and watch out for enemy aliens. At which point the cassette tape runs out because, like the Galactic Empire, the Time Lords use 1980s technology. They go down into London and go to find out what these enemy aliens are about and what form of William Tell is the key. They figured it's probably due to an overture by Rossini. They then discover that there is a man by the name of William Tell who is essentially this is 1935. He's essentially this time period's version of getting lost on Wikipedia. He memorizes facts and recites them to the audience. While they go to this man William Tell's show, they discover that some of the facts he's reciting is wrong. So the Doctor confronts him about this and says to redeem himself, he must explain where the enemy aliens are. He names a location. Essentially, he uses a name that eventually does lead to a location, and is shot for his trouble by somebody off in the audience behind Charlie. People believe that Charlie is the one who killed him, especially when she finds the gun and holds it up, at which point a man emerges from the audience and helps her escape. She wakes up in the morning as they reveal that she fell asleep in transit to the man's place, and that the police are now looking for both her and the Doctor who have escaped. He reveals where the actual location that Tell mentioned is, and reveals that it would not be found on a map. So they head to the train in order to get there after donning a disguise, during which time the man is incessantly seeming to attempt to hit on Charlie. While hiding from some police and the army that are looking for her, Charlie manages to get open a coffin in the cargo compartment, which she attempts to hide in, before realizing that it is the Doctor who is in there already hiding. Question for after the summary. They get to their location, And the order of events here is actually a little fuzzy for me because I did not finish my my re-listen through to make sure I had all the events in order. Uh, I can still try if you guys want, but
I can intercede if you want me to.
yeah, if it might be better.
Basically, the doctor has to jump off the train due to the police trying to find both Charlie and the doctor. And the doctor then somehow manages to get a horse and starts riding off to try and meet up with Charlie. They had already planned more or less a vague area where they were going to meet. Charlie, going back to, what was his name again? The guy that she was with?
Hillary.
Hillary. Charlie goes back to Hillary and meets some little women that were there with him at this point because they also got more people on the train. They talk a little bit, and she finds out that Hillary kind of lied, saying that they were apparently two people trying to elope together to get married despite grievances from parents, apparently. To which, when they actually do get off the train, there's actually a quote-unquote, there was a carriage waiting for a quote-unquote John Smith, which is actually the doctor's usual alias. At first, Charlie wasn't sure if that's the way to make it out for, but they figure might as well, since apparently Mr. John Smith isn't going to show up anytime soon. They take the carriage to a church. The pastor at the church is apparently waiting for Mr. John Smith, which lends more to the eloping idea. Charlie does turn down Hillary for really thinking that she doesn't want to go through with this. And while she's waiting out in the graveyard, I believe, she finally bumps into the doctor, who arrives on the horse. The two of them talk, and Charlie sees this as an opportunity to get fakely married to the doctor, so that way they at least have some paperwork to try and get them through any more problems that would come up ahead. But as they enter into the church again, the doctor notices the two little old women and points out the fact that they were right behind Charlie while they were in the stage area or whatever. While they were watching the show with William Tell. That they were little women that were literally right behind her when that show was going on. The little women then both pull out pistols and start firing at the two. They quickly slam the doors behind them and make for trying to get out of the church area through the graveyard again. They then continue their travels to try and find the location that they were supposed to be looking for. I'm trying to remember now. I believe when they get there, they get jumped by Hillary as well as a couple of other people. No, they get jumped by a bunch of German soldiers. I believe it was German or Russian. I can't remember for sure.
It should have been German.
Yeah, I was thinking they were most likely German. So they get jumped by a bunch of German men, get taken into the prison beneath this castle, and that's when they meet Hillary again, and he reveals that he's working with these particular individuals.
Enemy aliens.
Hence the term enemy aliens, yes. The Germans in Britain between world wars. Yeah. There's a bit of talk, and as they're going down, they actually are taken out of their cell and I believe lower into the castle, to which they find out there's a fake lock, a body of water, and I forget what the key was for. The different terminology of key and different spelling. But essentially, the lock and key is supposed to more or less mean the secret submarine that they have hidden away inside underneath this castle.
Well, that's right. It was key. It was key the way it was spelled in the Angels Take Manhattan, which I couldn't understand how it was pronounced key, but at this point, I assume it's a British thing.
Probably. But they also happened to secure the TARDIS because Charlie had been talking to Hillary about the TARDIS.
How did they spell key?
Quuay.
No, that's a common term.
Oh,
I've never heard it before. Angels Take Manhattan.
Never heard of it spelled that way. Never.
It's synonymous with Worf, and not the Klingon.
How did you know?
I've heard it probably more because it's also common in Canada.
Ah. Which I just found out recently. Apparently, mixing carrots with mashed potatoes is also common in Canada.
Anywho.
Well,
they Hillary shows Charlie and the Doctor that he managed to get the TARDIS because Charlie happened to spill the beans on it, and he had men that he could quickly contact, probably while she was asleep. He's trying to force them into giving him the information in order to try and get inside of the TARDIS as well as to use it, when they start hearing explosions around them. What Charlie and the Doctor allude to is the fact that the Little Women were not actually with Hillary, but they were with the British Secret Service, and that they followed Hillary, the Doctor, and the kidnappers to this particular secret base, and are now eluded the army to this and are bombing it. As the place starts getting bombed harder and harder, and the ceiling above them starts to crumble, they quickly make their escape into the TARDIS and get out of there. The Doctor and Hillary, Doctor and Charlie, sorry, mixing names now. The Doctor and Charlie also realize that they need to stop a broadcast that's going to be happening on the BBC pretty soon. This broadcast will be airing the song William Tell, and apparently this is going to be a calling call, a shout-out call to the real space aliens that are hanging above London right now, to tell them to attack not only just London, but the rest of the world, because it'll be a simultaneously released video. Not only in
The world's
Britain,
greatest
but
simulcast,
worldwide.
you might say.
The
world's largest simulcast, you might say.
Something to that effect, yes. But just as they're about to go in there, they suddenly encounter the alien that apparently the Doctor had alluded to evading when he was getting captured by the police. This creature is snarling, huge, elongated arms, green glowing eyes, and absolutely 100% affectionate to Charlie because it thinks that she is his commander. Because she kept humming the overture. They take this as a good idea to bring the gigantic, monstrous alien with them to help them ease their way through the BBC tower and try and stop the broadcast. They quickly do find the man who is going to be playing music and is just starting to play William Tell when they tell him to stop, and as he's playing the music, the monster comes in snarling and causes the man to faint. However, the overture that was played was just enough to set off all the aliens who are beginning to attack. However, the Doctor had a device with him earlier that was to try and detect the alien signals feeding that was going on and why the sensors were getting blocked. And also why the message from the 11th Doctor was getting scattered. He then uses this device over the microphone to essentially tell the aliens off, and also apparently simultaneously the 11th Doctor is also giving them a very stern warning of his own, to which the aliens' spaceships flash a couple of colors and then fly off. But as they're about to turn around and say, a job well done, we're done here, suddenly Hillary shows up again brandishing a pistol, going, "Yes, I was bought out to be a double agent now. By the way, can't tell anyone that I'm a double agent, which means both of you need to die." To which Charlie says, "I have one more thing to say to you, Hillary," and she starts humming the overture, which brings out the one alien again. The alien then attempts to kill Hillary, and they both go off the edge of the building. The alien sadly does crash land and apparently is killed on the ground, but Hillary is still clinging onto the clock on the tower, and is slowly slipping as the clock hits closer and closer to the half hour. And constantly pleading with his life, and we leave the episode with that.
Oh. Okay.
Stop
So
clicking.
what did you guys think of this story?
I thought it was okay. It was very typical of 8 Doctor episodes.
I found it amusing. It wasn't like overly new or interesting, but I found it to be at least a decent story. I have to agree with you, Bill, that it did feel a little bit like the first Destiny of the Doctor story, to be honest, a little bit in places, because alluding to aliens again.
Yeah, I was not a fan of this story at all.
I did downright
Like I feel it was entirely written so that they could take the garbled warning from Matt Smith and build the entire plot off of that. For example, William Tell is the key, so rather than having it be one kind of William Tell, which would make sense, let's have two different versions, so that's extra confusing and or exciting. And then two different forms of enemy aliens, because when you think of the Doctor, you think of somebody who can't tell different types of aliens apart and would just call them enemy aliens. Why? Then the Doctor decides to just abandon Charlie, not try to find her at all, and just go on to the climax site by himself, and he's just lucky that Charlie managed to find him.
See, Charlie's kind of what the basis of character for River's song is, right? Oh, no, it's a different character.
You're thinking Bernice, I think.
Bernice.
Yeah. No, Charlotte Pollard is one of probably the most famous 8th Doctor companions in audio.
Now
Bernice was a 7th and then 8th Doctor companion in novels.
Okay.
And it's the novel is there has been somebody that's done audio, but it's been independent works. It's Big Finish, but it's not with the Doctor. But still, that's Bernice that River was based off of, not and Bernice actually, built herself up to that level. You actually saw her evolve over the course of, umpteen million books and audio and stuff, whereas River just kind of came out.
Sort of like someone like Rose or Ace.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And River just kind of came out that way, which is why I was never fond of her.
Mm-hmm.
And no, Charlotte's a little different. Charlotte, I guess, might be the original Impossible Girl, because as was mentioned in the audio, first joined the Doctor on the R101, the British version of the Hindenburg. It was the reason we Americans don't know about it is because the Hindenburg happened on our soil. It happened in New York. The R101 was a British British blimp or Zeppelin that started in England and was headed over France when it had its horrible crash and burn. And the Doctor rescued her from that, and the fact that he shouldn't have, that she was destined to die on the R101 was a big plot of her storyline.
She then went on to be lost by the 8th Doctor and picked up by the 6th Doctor, which I believe she's still traveling with.
Yes, as far as I'm aware, in the Big Finish audio, they're still doing audios together.
Timey-wimey, you're soaking in it.
Anyway, she's basically gone through all of this, and yes, she does have a bit of a crush on the Doctor. as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, I was kind of getting that feeling a little bit when she tried to lead him into that wedding.
She also has a habit. She also running gag with her cross-dressing.
Ah,
There is when she was first on the R101, she snuck on as um, um, she's she's born to a noble family, so she was supposed to grow up to be a lady, and she snuck on board disguised as a male member of the crew, the essentially the cabin boy.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of a running gag that she winds up as a guy somewhere during the story.
Which she did do a little bit of this time, too.
Yes, she did. And it was mentioned that she wound up dressed as something in the previous one too.
Yeah, the soldier outfit she had on.
Yep. Um.
So, what exactly about this do you not like, Bill? Well, I think
largely what I said, the enemy aliens thing, which they take one line and they're like, okay, let's put as many spins on enemy aliens as we can, and then the William Tell line, and let's put as many twists, as many spins on William Tell as we can, even though if you took this story and you tried to figure out what Matt Smith's warning was, there's no way that it would have come out that way. Then there's the Doctor just abandoning Charlie, as I mentioned, and then there's even the ending where he's basically like, yeah, I'm perfectly fine to have this alien that's not human jump and fall to his death to save me, and then we'll deal with the human who survived.
Ah.
Doesn't sound right.
That would explain it. It actually, this is the same author that wrote Storm Warning, which is where Charlie started.
Oh.
Also wrote Neverland, the Doctor Who audio, Zagreus, The Next Life, The Girl Who Never Was, a bunch of the Gallifrey stories.
Oh.
He was the same writer that wrote Brotherhood of the Daleks. Story I think you're familiar with, Bill.
Wait, sorry, say that. Oh, you said Brotherhood of the Daleks?
Yes, it's the same writer.
Yep, that's the one that I have with Charlie and the Sixth Doctor.
Yep.
Which is where where she almost reveals having traveled with the Eighth, but doesn't quite.
Mm-hmm. He also wrote the animated serial The Infinite Quest.
That's the one I couldn't remember the name of earlier.
Okay.
That's the one with Martha Jones and the Doctor going off searching for something.
Right.
And pirates ensue. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. And yeah, he wrote that. So he has some good stories under his belt.
I do have to agree with you that the fact that they kind of just shrug off the dead alien and go, look at this guy, is kind of a little, heh. You'd think that the Doctor would be a little more concerned about the alien that just took that huge fall.
Right.
At least the Doctor, if not both of them, because
yeah,
that thing actually really did help them.
There's the fact that her humming the Rossini overture caused her to become the alien's commander. Yet when other people hum the overture, they die a grisly death by the hands of the aliens.
Yes, but she hummed it first.
She hummed it first, so the rest of them humming it equals to that creature, kill, kill.
Mm-hmm.
I can live with that.
It's like they're trying to fake the commander, but I've already met the commander, so...
They're faking liars. I'll kill them all. Jump. Slash. Maim.
That's basically those complaints that I mentioned, coupled with the fact that, as you said, there's really nothing, nothing special, no huge draw to pull you into this story. Coupled with that, left me just not satisfied at all.
Well, like I said, it reminds me a little bit of Storm Warning. And I don't know, it might just be the period plot, but it seemed very Eighth Doctor to me.
Yeah, I have to say that even though I know very little about the Eighth Doctor, the whole losing her then coming back to her seems to be kind of a regular thing with him. From what little I know, it seems to be he seems to have a freaking horseshoe in his pocket or something. Because they do it like twice in this one story as it is.
I can only remember one time where he outright goes on with the plan and ignores the fact that she's not with him, though.
Well, what's he supposed to do? Wander around London looking for her?
Especially when she needs to be hiding. I will take it that the obvious plan is to try and figure out where this destination is that they should be looking for, and then most likely would be
assuming that she's doing the same thing. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it might be me not being familiar with Charlie enough, because I can imagine if this was River or Romana, he would do the same thing. But I can imagine most of his human companions he would try to find first, rather than leaving them up to their own devices. Now, he might have more confidence in her that I might not know the justification for. That's possible.
Well, again, as Randy put, she's the original Impossible Girl. So yeah, there probably has been at least a good couple of months, if not probably years, and he's kind of like, yeah, she'll go this way, so I'll try to find my own way there too. After all, she did bring up the idea of the music of William Tell. So obviously she's thinking on some sort of clever wavelength alongside the Doctor.
Yeah. Apparently he does have a great deal of faith in her.
Mm-hmm. That's why he almost tried to kiss her. And as mentioned before, she has a crush on him, but she knew that he didn't mean it, so... Which actually brings me back to the William Hurt Doctor. Do I always keep doing that? Oh, no, no.
Well, that
John Hurt, Matt.
Yeah.
John Hurt. I have said this to other people. William Hurt playing the Doctor would be the blandest Doctor in history. It would probably kill the series.
I got the impression they were talking more about marriage than anything else. I mean, it's not like McGann already had his fair share of kissing companions. I mean, that's kind of how he was introduced to the public, as the Doctor that kisses his companion. So,
well, the thing is, though, is that they were doing that right in the middle of a big long kiss, though, too. I think that was even before the wedding.
Yeah. But I mean, the Doctor that came right before her is McGann, who was first introduced, like, he was, one of the big points of contention among a lot of people about the movie was him kissing his companion. Then there's the whole implied thing with him and Bernice. I think there are other instances of him becoming involved like that, so that would not be anything new to her.
Okay, it looks like Charlie's storyline with the Sixth Doctor is finished.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay, because she was the Eighth Doctor companion from Storm Warning through The Girl Who Never Was. And then with the Sixth Doctor from The Condemned through Blue Forgotten Planet.
I assume she's still doing something, though.
I don't know.
Well, the good thing about things like the Big Finish stories is since they're not, it's not like a television series where it's all on order. There's a lot of out of order things. For example, Light at the End and Destiny of the Doctor both include Charlie traveling with the Eighth Doctor, which has not been the case for some time if you follow along a linear path.
Mm-hmm.
But they're very capable of jumping back and forth as the story needs it.
They're very capable of bringing back people that the fans want to hear again.
True.
Although they do consider the Big Finish does consider the Eighth Doctor run with Charlie to be season 27 through 30. Originally, that was the way they were cutting them.
Of Big Finish?
Yeah.
Because I remember the behind the scenes of Light at the End mentioned that Charlie was the first Big Finish companion the Eighth Doctor ever had.
Correct.
So that would have made her season 1, wouldn't it? Or is it?
No,
am I thinking wrong lines?
No, they were continuing off of the original series production codes.
Oh, you're talking about the Doctor Who production codes. Okay.
We're talking classic Who, period.
Got you. Because Big Finish also has a lot of their lines broken down into seasons of their own.
Yeah, they changed it.
Okay.
They changed it starting with after season 30. I think that might coincide with when the new Who started coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And then they changed it to being called Continuing Adventures. And then ended with the Eighth Doctor in production 103. And that's when the Eighth Doctor picked up Lucy, who I believe was mentioned in Night of the Doctor.
Yeah, I believe she was, yes.
And I believe so was Tamsin.
Yeah.
And Susan. Whoa, what the hell?
Meh.
I'm gonna have to pull the list of his companions.
I'm looking at a list of his companions. Apparently, Carol Ann Ford comes back and functions with the Doctor, with the Eighth Doctor in some of the new EDAs.
Sweet.
It's the particular audio is called Relative Dimensions. Came out in 2010. The Doctor invites his granddaughter and recently discovered great-grandson to have Christmas in the TARDIS.
Oh, so this is set after the Five Doctors, then?
Yes.
Nice. Okay, yeah, he has had quite a few companions.
The Doctor's great-grandson, Alex, is introduced in An Earthly Child. He is played by Paul McGann's son.
Sweet.
The son of the Doctor is playing the great-grandson of the Doctor. Why do we keep falling into these things with Doctor Who?
we need to start writing a chart.
We need to start making a flow chart here.
What would be great is if he had a son, and David and Georgia has a daughter, or vice versa, and then they get married, and we're one step closer to creating the ultimate Doctor.
One day we will channel all the bloodlines into the finite Doctor.
Yes, we're trying to create the Quizarts Hatterack of Doctor. And then what did he also mention Molly in Night of the Doctor?
I think so.
Let's see. I know Chris was one of the ones he mentioned. Charlie.
Mm-hmm. Charlie and Chris were the two original. Am
I missing something? I'm looking at the Eighth Doctor's companions list or category on TARDIS Data Core, and looking under C, Charlie is not there. Oh, she's under P. That's why. Okay.
Yeah.
That explains it.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at a timeline of them. The first
Oh, okay.
companion mentioned is Romana 2 and K9 Mark 2, but that was only for the broadcast of Shada. When
Yeah,
they did
right.
the rebroadcast
The
of Shada.
animated version.
Yep. Well, it was originally the audio version, and then they animated it, yeah. But then, yeah, they mentioned Charlie, and Chris is a companion for Charlie, and then after Chris dies, Charlie is there for one more before leaving. Then he picks up
Which,
Lucy in
which
the
one
new
is
EDAs.
which one is the one from another universe where time doesn't exist?
Chris.
That's Chris. Okay.
Yeah, they pick her up from the other universe. They pick him up from the other universe. Comes back with them to the main universe.
Yeah.
Then he dies. And then Lucy, and then apparently drops off Lucy, picks up Tamsin, and then picks up Lucy again. And then Lucy and Susan for 4.7. 4.8, he's by himself. And then 4.9 and 4.10, it's Lucy, Tamsin, and Susan.
Okay, it looks like Molly is one of the companions he mentioned in Night of the Doctor.
Okay, I thought so.
And those are the
William
final
Shakespeare
episodes.
is listed as a companion of the Eighth Doctor.
And that's the final listing of the Eighth Doctor and Lucy. And then the Dark Eyes series is the new one with Molly.
Anywho, the more you know.
So we are actually over time here.
Yeah, we're technically a little bit over time. So does that help clear up any of your problems with that, Bill? Because it seems like the major problem you had is why would he do this, but it was mostly I trust
Yeah,
him
but
to do this.
there's still that still doesn't explain why he's perfectly fine letting an alien jump to his death to save him.
I would admit that end bit is a little head tilting.
The whole fact that the story is kind of ripping off the first episode of Destiny of the Doctor and other things that I'm probably not going to get over with the script.
The play of words, I will admit, is a little bit silly and kind of played over the top on this.
The fact that the 11th Doctor saves the day, which makes the 8th Doctor's involvement almost pointless.
Actually, yeah, that's actually a point to bring up. Why was the 11th Doctor even involved in any of this when it easily could have been just a regular 8th Doctor story? And why was the 8th Doctor after nothing? The 8th Doctor contributed to nothing that the 11th Doctor need done.
We won't know until we actually listen to the 11th audio. Well, I know Bill has. I have not.
Did the 8th Doctor bring back any artifact or save anything related to this adventure?
So apparently he has it, Randy.
No, it was the static that was being done was not letting him talk to the other doctors.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Oh.
So if he couldn't clear up the static, he couldn't
contact the other doctors. Gotcha.
Right.
Still, he gives this whole speech in the beginning about I should be able to stand on my own 2 feet, and then Matt Smith ends up saving the day. Great job, Doctor.
Well, he helps save the day. It was still mostly started by the 8th Doctor.
He's the one that talks down the aliens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a little bit of a...
I have to admit, for a brief second, I thought that we were about to see the beginning of the Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe.
What's that? I'm sorry, you broke up horribly on my side.
For a brief second, I thought we were about to see the beginning of the Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe, where the Doctor is on this mysterious, unnamed alien vessel and blows it up.
No, I never got that vibe.
It was a very brief passing thing, but when they mentioned that the 11th Doctor might was also dealing with the aliens that the ones that were in orbit, I thought that might have been what was about to happen.
I don't know.
I quickly realized it was not at all.
So I guess this kind of comes down then to ratings.
Yeah, I guess so. I was also going to mention, of course, the fact that Nazis in England is a kind of a ongoing theme in the Doctor Who universe.
It seems so, yeah.
Because it even, back to the classic series in Curse of Fenric, it was in there, and I believe there was a classic Doctor. But you got to remember that the 1930s in particular, Britain was a very divided country. And including one heir to the throne who stepped down because he had a very pro-Nazi point of view. It could have actually gone either way at one point, which is kind of the purpose of the episode Inferno, Third Doctor Classic, where he goes to the alternate dimension where Britain had basically, it was kind of the Doctor Who equivalent of the alternate Nazi verse, only they weren't quite Nazis. It was the Britain's own homebrew brand. So the whole worry about Nazi infiltration is a very real threat in England. Was a very real threat in the time in England. So this is part of their history.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I did like was that there was actually a bit of foreshadowing when Charlie was going through the luggage compartment. She finds the old lady's bag and wonders why there's handcuffs in it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and the modern brain just goes, kinky old lady.
Right.
And it turns out that she's actually working for British intelligence. Yeah, that was kind of nice. So, ratings. Since you're the one that likes it the least, Bill, you go first.
I think I'm settling on a 2 out of 5 for this one. I might be warming up to a 2.5 out of 5. I don't know, but I think I'm going to settle on a 2 out of 5. Oh,
Matt?
that actually
ahead.
remind me to mention something when we're done with the ratings.
Okay.
All right.
Well, for me then, as Randy was apparently poking towards me, I guess I'd give this a 3. There are a few problems here and there, but they're not like overwhelmingly going to completely destroy the story. There's just a few things that I would have probably liked changed.
I'm actually going to give it a 3.5, as I was rather fond of a bit of the wordplay that Bill hated. It's, the fact that, the Doctor's so used to fighting enemy aliens from outer space, he hadn't even addressed the thought concept that the one of the bad guys mentioned could have been, Nazis. I actually thought was an amusing kind of twist on it, and then, of course, they did the twist back.
If the Nazis were the only enemy, which, granted, would have been kind of the twist from Hunters of Earth, but still, I think I would have liked that better. If it was one or the other.
Instead of trying to do both?
Right.
I don't know. I still thought it was pretty much standard 8th Doctor-ish romp, mistaken questions and all that. I enjoyed it. I thought while Charlotte wasn't able to do the Doctor's vocal range, she was able to get his nuances pretty well.
No, yeah, she did a good Paul McGann, yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to give it a 3.5, which will average out to 3.
Middle of the
and now that we have that average, if you guys remember last episode, we kind of ended with 3 of us had given ratings. One person was trying to get their connection back. We had said I had given it a 4.5. I'm actually, after watching it a second time, I'm amending that to a 5, which gives us 3 5s, and then Hydriatus turned around and literally this like a minute after we finished recording, we managed to get his rating, and that was a 4. So we actually right now have 3 5s and a 4 for Day of the Doctor.
And we didn't get Eli's.
Right, we didn't get Eli's, which puts us at 9 19 divided by 4, which is something like 4.9 or something like that.
So still, the Day of the Doctor rate's pretty high up there right now.
Yeah.
At least until Eli gets his "I completely and totally hated this" rating in.
Although as I mentioned in our Skype group, unless he rates it below a 1.5, it's still going to average out between 4 and 5.
Well, yeah, I personally think that he's insane.
Like yeah, I think he's a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs on this one.
Yeah,
he has to give this a 1 out of 5 for the rating to be below a 4.
Yeah, and really, I'm thinking he's insane for not liking it in general, but I think his hatred becomes the fact that he is so mired in New Who,
right?
That he can't. The fact that the series is taking a turn back towards the classic.
I
honestly think if he turns around 2 years from now and regrades it, he'll like it more if he doesn't already like it more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's probably been looking around, seeing what other people think of it, and going, "Oh, actually, that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?"
Well, you could even tell when we were talking about it, he seems to be kind of changing his mind in certain ways.
Yeah.
That's kind of why I really want to hear his score at this point.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I'm surprised the other guy was really meh on it too.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see massively for and massively against for the people that, the change in the paradigm is just too much for them. But the meh is kind of like the hell. But he actually said that he was thinking it was going to be,
Yeah, he admitted his score was not fair, and I think what he was kind of thinking was like the 13 doctors with $100 million budget, 2-hour runtime type of deal.
And being that he's British, I'm not sure where he's getting that idea from.
Yeah, and the fact that he had never seen the 10th or 20th specials, so he knew that he should have, at that point that a anniversary special is going to be another episode. And this one is actually more noteworthy than the previous ones because it is literally pulling the show in a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing where this is understated to me is the fact that it's shorter than The End of Time.
It's shorter. It's
shorter than the 5 Doctors. Also, come to think of it.
Yes, it is because the 5 Doctors was done on.
It was 90 minutes.
The 4 half episode style format, although it was shown all at once.
Actually, I can only think of one other anniversary where they actually had something important happen somewhere in the anniversary where it turned the show around, and that will have been the 3 Doctors.
Yeah,
the 3 Doctors
the 10th gave us the TARDIS back.
Yep.
Yes, yep. They did the change the turbine by ending the exile. Yeah.
So there's only been really one other anniversary special where we had any major change in the show.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, while we're talking about anniversaries, does anybody know what month Rose aired?
It was either March or April.
Yeah, I want to say March or April.
Do you know if wasn't one of the specials in? Oh no, never mind. That would have been 2009, not 2010. So we didn't actually get a 5th anniversary New Who anniversary special unless you count the 11th hour, which I don't.
Yeah, we didn't.
Yeah.
The revised series started in 26 March.
March. So very end of the month.
Mm-hmm.
Okie doke. So
yeah, I knew it was around there because back during the Eccleston and Tennant run, they tended to start around Easter.
Right.
And that is typically where I do look where I start checking the BBC listings.
Right. And that was right around the time that 7B began as well, wasn't it?
I think so. I think 7B was off by a little bit. I think it started earlier.
I know it was April. I think Easter was early May.
because I know it snuck up on me.
Well, now we're lingering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can go ahead and say tune in next week as we
Yep.
will continue Destiny of the Doctor with the Ninth Doctor serial.
Yep. Narrated by the Dalek Zygon Ice Warrior himself.
Actually, I thought it was Nick. I thought it was narrated by Billy Piper, wasn't it?
No, it's not. Unfortunately, they couldn't get Billy or
Chris.
John in.
Oh. Yeah.
What's the name of it?
I believe I'll believe a lot
Night
of
of the
these
Whisper.
Nicholas is in. Anyway, see you all next week.
All right.
Everybody next week.